which ought to be a fantastic book. Actually, I'm pulling a bunch of shit out of my ass about Freya because I'm not really sure what it means to be a woman, but I'm writing about it anyway. we'll let we'll let some people look at it before I publish it. Which ought to be. There we go. All right, so we're live on YouTube, live on here. All right, the Prose Edda is a collection of tales that outlines the foundations of just about everything we want to believe. But we look at it, we have outlines and ideas and names and the descriptions of the homes, the descriptions of the horses, and a couple of adventures of the gods and what they do and how things go. If we read them just as the tales that they are, all of this lore is, Blaine Qualls told me this. He was my first Gothi student for the AFA. I was his mentor when they first started it. It is like an onion. You peel it back and you get a good look at everything, and then you can peel back another layer. And that's one of the things that always leads me to believe is that there is something more to this than just these tales, is that I can find allegory and inspiration and association with some of these words that I may not have been able to find in other texts. This is what makes it palatable to the cultivation of a healthy spirituality for me. Now, I don't always live like that because that's a hard fucking thing to do because we are human, but there's a lot going on right now. There's a lot of change. People don't handle change very well. We just don't. We don't like change. It's uncertain. It pushes our thought process outside the boundaries of what we establish as being the norms in our lives. And in that chaos, there is usually danger. And nobody wants to admit that. Nobody wants to really deal with that. And right now we're dealing with, last year, I was kicked off Facebook for being fuck, I never really did tell me why, but they just kicked me off and several others. It was kind of a purge of the AFA, I'm sure. And I was maybe not being the best individual I could at that time. So there were a number of reasons I could have been kicked off. And now it looks like I got everybody else. When I was kicked off, I was talking with Justin Garcia about it and told him I had a website. And he said, it's really high time we get off of the social media, the free teat of social media. Me and some of my, I don't know, what do you call them, contemporaries, we've all done very well with and been successful on that free teat of social media. And people are beginning to become aware that they were getting something else from that social media other than just, I'm going to put this microphone, other than just the interaction they thought they were getting. There's a lot of evidence that it provides the dopamine, serotonin kind of responses that certain drugs will do, that certain actions will do. Just like giving a like, you get the same kind of positive feedback hitting a like as if you make a donations. And there was at one time a report that people were giving less money because they could give a like and not do shit. And they were good and they felt good enough about it. What was it called? The Social Dilemma? If you haven't watched The Social Dilemma on Netflix, I highly suggest you do so. But be that as it may, that is just the tip of the iceberg with what's going on with regards to people that have heretofore counted upon social media to remain connected and to a certain extent, touch base with what they consider to be their spirituality, as shallow as it was in many instances. Now they don't have that. Now they're looking at, what do I do? Now they're burdened with the idea of finding an appropriate way to build a spiritual life in the absence of the righteous indignation, which is so often masqueraded as spiritual development based upon political ideologies. Now what do we fucking do? Well, I kind of have an idea here with regards to Balder. And this is something I've been working on for a couple of months, a kind of an idea. So I'm going to read a little bit from Miss Gil Fanning about this tale of Balder and what it means. And I've talked about it many times because it's one of my favorite stories. I think there's something truly important about this. Now, Some people will have you say, have said that the lore is too heavily Christianized, but I assure you that is a remnant of a 17th century ideology when they would burn you at the stake for saying anything different. Um, these tales and the way that they're told are told from the Sumerians to the Hittites to the Mesopotamians to your Semitic cultures, um, independent of each other. This same kind of ideology shows up and appears, this same kind of growth, death, development, the hero's journey, as Joseph Campbell calls it, like throwing a rock into a water and the ripples spread out across the lake. It's the same thing with ideas that elevate the ideas of a human mind and heart. This is one of those tales. Then he said, then spake Gangleri, have any more matters of note befallen among the Aesir? So he's asking the question, what else has happened to this tribe of individuals? A very great deed of valor did Thor achieve on that journey. Har made answer. Har means high. Now shall be told those tidings which seemed of more consequence to the Aesir. So we've had these tales. Gangleri's been asking these questions, and High, Higher, and Third have been answering them. These three aspects of Odin have been answering him and telling him of these great tales and deeds. This last one was a great deed of valor for Thor. This next one is a tragedy. It's one of the few tragedies that show up in the lore, whereas your Greek stories are full of tragedies as warnings of how not to act. Much of our lore has these gods doing things that are kind of an inspiration of how to become. And that's something that would probably be a show in and of itself to explain that. Now should be told those tidings which seemed of more consequence to the Aesir. The beginning of the story is this, that Balder the Good dreamed great and perilous dreams touching his life. Now, when he told those dreams to the Aesir, then they took counsel together. Now, I remember, I don't know, maybe 8 years ago or so, there was a real kind of reflux against the idea of dreams being of any kind of importance in Asatru. They said it was too Wicca-like, it was too witchy, dreams weren't really important. But if you go through the sagas, if you go through the lore, here we have a very important idea that dreams are important to us, to pay attention to these dreams. I mean, they are aspects of our subconscious that really determine a lot about our lives. I think it was Jung that said, you can tell how happy a man will be on any given day because it'll be determined about the quality of interaction he has with the female in his dreams of the night before. If he has a bad dream about a woman, his day will probably be shit. If he has a good dream about an interaction, he'll have a bright, beautiful, happy day. It's just that powerful of an influence on our lives. We don't really pay much attention to it because it's been poo-pooed many times. I said that word in public. So anyway, this is where the mother comes in. This is where the mother archetype comes in some of its most dangerous form. And this was their decision to ask safety for Balder from all kinds of dangers. So this is the son of Odin and Frigg. Balder lives in that home where fewest baleful runes lie. He has Nanna as a wife. Their son is Forseti, who puts to sleep all suits. This is the foundation of justice in a society, everything that's good and positive in the world. And yet they remove from in front of him the dangers of life. How do you grow? How do you develop? How do you become something more? Pain is that touchstone that motivates us to do better, that motivates us not to engage in those negative actions which cause not only ourselves pain, but others. And this mother has stepped in to say, no, I don't want anything to hurt my son. Frigg took oaths to this purport that fire and water should spare Balder, likewise iron and metal of all kinds, stones, earth, trees, sicknesses, beasts, birds, venom, serpents. And when that was done and made known, this was a diversion of Balder's and the Aesir, that he should stand up in the thing and all the others should come, some shoot at him, some hew at him, some beat him with stones, but whatsoever was done hurt him not at all. And that seemed to them all like a very worshipful thing. On the one hand, that can seem like a very worshipful thing. On the other hand, what's he supposed to grow into? Is he the culmination right then and there of the being capable of taking over Odin's throne? Is he the individual capable of showing us what it means when you remove those kinds of challenges from a child's life, inevitably later on down the line, a much greater challenge emerges. And at some point, we have to resist the temptation to rush in and save that child from the consequences of their actions. And it sucks. It is hurtful. It is painful for a parent. It is hard to watch a child suffer because of their own decisions. And yet it is part of the growing process. The rituals of manhood were typically considered to be so severe that there would be no looking back. For a young boy would grow up with his mother, and at a certain age, they would go to a very violent or terrifying masculine induction, and they would forever, and thereafter, they would hang with the men. If he were to run home to mother after that, well, this is a bad thing. Now, if you look at it at face value, and Valerie Wright said it, she said, yeah, he was considered to be a valuable part of the Manor Bund because nobody was going to beat him. Well, shit, yeah, if you got somebody nobody's going to beat, you're going to want him at the front of your army. But for an individual like us, what good does knowing that do me? How does understanding that nothing's going to hurt him and they threw everything at him and it's a worshipful thing, should I be proud that my God is this most impervious thing through special counsel with his mother? Do you want to hang out with the quarterback whose mother gives him everything? He drives a nice car. He's at top of he's the best looking, best dressed. He's the coolest dude in school. He's got the best car. His mama gets him everything. Him and his mama have this wonderful special relationship. Is that what you want to grow up into? No. Ask a woman if that's the kind of man she wants to marry. And you get the same answer. I mean, quit that. But when Loki Laufeyson saw this, it pleased him ill that Balder took no hurt. Yeah, everybody, that's human nature. We get jealous. The second thing I wanted to point out about that, when we're strolling along in an environment where we feel like we can run our mouths about some kind of political ideology we believe to be valid, and we do so against an undefined enemy. If you're conservative, people are going to say, okay, well, you believe in smaller government, less taxes, you believe in the Constitution. There's a certain number of things you can be defined as believing in. If you're another political system, you can be defined as believing in certain ideologies of that. You can't mention on here, I'll get banned. If you're on the radical left, what is your defining characteristic? What is it that you're not against? So here we are, we've had this terrible foreboding, knowing that this shit was coming, and had done nothing to prepare for it. Feeling like our righteous indignation has made us impervious to the slings and arrows of those that they would hurl upon us. And yet here we are, all of us caught with our pants around our ankles, and everybody's getting kicked off of social media, and now nobody knows what to do. How's that national social thing working for you now? How's that kind of political ideology helping you if you've been doxxed to get a new job? Well, one good thing about it is everybody's history has been erased off Facebook. Now your employer can't go looking through it, and you can probably get away with more shit if you want to continue leading with the chin. We got to be thinking about this kind of stuff. We've walked around like Balder, pretending nobody's going to be able to say anything about us, knowing full well that there are dickheads out there running their mouth about stuff they don't even understand, talking about being Asatru, and I understand this, and I understand that, and I hate this, and I hate that, and you should have known, and doing nothing but, on the left and the right, don't get me wrong, left and right, talking about how special they understand this or that. And now we're sitting here, and Loki Laufeyson might as well be big tech and your Democratic Party. They saw this and it pleased them ill that we took no hurt. Well, we got it now, don't we? He went to Fensalir to Frigg and made himself into the likeness of a woman. That's a clue right there. When we have to change the aspect of who we are to make a point or to discuss something with someone, when we have to sacrifice a part of who we are, nay, even to change our gender to get special recognition from the court of appeal that we wish to contend in, there's a clue there that something ain't right. If you can't stand on your own 2 feet as a legitimate, intelligent man or a powerful, legitimate, intelligent woman, what are you doing? We're wasting our time dealing with individuals at which nothing is too trivial to contend or argue about. And this is Loki Lawson. This is big tech coming to shut us down. Then Frigg asked if that woman knew what the Aesir did to the thing. She said that they were all shooting at Balder, and moreover that he took no hurt. Then said Frigg, neither weapons nor trees may hurt Balder. I have taken oaths of them all. Then the woman asked, have all things taken oaths to spare Balder? And Frigg answered, there grows a tree sprout alone westward of Valhalla. It is called mistletoe. I thought it too young to ask the oath of, and then straightway the woman turned away, but Loki took mistletoe, pulled it up, and went to the thing. We knew our weakness long before we ever began to try. We knew that we were failing to produce material that would provide a spiritual foundation, except for myself and a few of my contemporaries. We knew full well that the righteous indignation, I've been talking about it for 2 years, the righteous indignation we want to talk about on social media is that mistletoe. And it's cost us all. Now we are so spread, so diverse, so spread apart, our ability to reach out and just say hello is compromised. Hodor stood outside the ring of men because he was blind. Nobody cares. When they kicked me off social media, I had 10 years of Scarlett's photographs from the time she was born until recently, and my sons growing up, and football and videos of my other daughters and my grandchildren gone. Because somebody that I decided to rely on something out there so I might express myself, made a decision, not necessarily in my best interest, but to satisfy someone who wanted to complain about something irrelevant. Gone. Stuff that I'd written, I'm sure there's some copyright infringement. I'd probably sue them. Wouldn't that be a landmark lawsuit? That was my mistletoe. You know what else was my mistletoe? Was that I could get on social media and build a magnificent ego and never have done a damn thing to earn it. And now that's being taken away from how many, probably thousands of people right now. The great egos they had cultivated, the images, the facade, the fakery of what they thought they were, promoted or believed in, has just been removed. Now what? Well, you're going to ask the blind man. He's going to take a shot because he doesn't care. Because I see not where Balder is, and for this also I am weaponless. Then said Loki, do thou also after the manner of other men, and show Balder honor as the other men do. I will directly where he stands, shoot at him with his wand. So Facebook, YouTube, they got Parler, they got DLive, every one of those social media things that wanted to use to express, and other further right individuals wanted to express their horse shit, and further left individuals get a free pass. But they're going to do it because, well, it's the right thing to do, isn't it? Or is it? We are faced with these kind of challenges. Now, it's also, nobody could take me down. That was my ego on social media. People would come at me left and right. They would do whatever they could, and I'd shut them down. But I can't contend against a tech giant, can I? Any more than Balder can contend with this mistletoe. And we're all feeling that shot tonight. People all over the country, people that were heretofore very much important and prominent on social media. They had internet fame and success. Okay. Because I see now where Balder is. All right, so he took the shot. I will directly where he stands shoot at him with this wand. Hodor took mistletoe and shot at Balder, being guided by Loki. The shaft flew through Balder and fell dead to the earth. And that was the greatest mischance that has ever befallen gods and men. Now we have an opportunity. And I say opportunity because I'm a positive kind of individual. We have an opportunity now, since we have had the painful experience of being removed from platforms we thought we were insular on that we can enjoy at our righteous indignation. We have an opportunity now to do something. Now we have an opportunity to do something real. This little thing right here is a part of that. We've been doing it for two years now. It's been all over YouTube. It has helped people. I know in the last week, viewership has gone down 50% because people have been removed. 50%. That's a lot of people. So now where do they go? Well, now we got to go wandering. When Odin loses his cool and throws his spear over the head of the Vanir and loses his kingdom, he has to go wandering. When Freya loses Odin, she has to go wandering. There is a journey we must all take to begin to understand who and what we are. Freya begins the hill of healing, helping other women heal those wounds that women endure in life. Odin had to sacrifice himself to rid himself of that ego that cost him everything. Every man and woman in life goes through that. Every man and woman gets to a point in their life where all of the shit they've been taught and the patterns they've been using stop to fucking work. And we got to figure out how to change. And it's always a painful process. It's not like, well, hey, I'm driving down the road. Things are going pretty good. I think I want to change everything. No. That's not how it works. Well, I've learned enough. I believe I can make an intelligent decision about how to change the quality of my life because, well, I'm pretty successful, but this is not good. No, that's not how it works. People go through something. They get everything they thought was right, everything they thought they knew. They go out there, they fall on their fucking face. They got fool written across their forehead. Now what? Now I'm going to find something different. It's where we are. The mistletoe took us out. That's that lesson in all of this. There's always jealousy, envy, hatred, something ready to take somebody out. There is a world of confused emotions, thoughts, and ideas that two people can hardly ever make congruent with each other unless it's with extreme effort and care and concern. And when that fails, do we sit there and think, did I try? Did I do the right thing? Did I take that shot? Was I really taking a shot at somebody because they were doing better than me and I couldn't understand? I didn't like it. That the slings and arrows go both ways all the fucking time, people. In a world of 7 billion people, it's going to be very hard to get them all to hold hands and sing Kumbaya. So what do we do? Right now, we didn't have to hold hands to sing Kumbaya. We could get on Facebook or social media and raise living hell about all kinds of shit. And we'd find 200 other people that give us a like out of 7 billion and think, oh, I'm doing pretty good. I think I've got a handle on things. I'm going to keep running my mouth about this shit. Nobody wanted to hear that shit. These other people are just as crazy as you are. And yet here we are thinking we're doing right. That's ego. That's the idea, the perception that we create of ourselves without ever having to do anything to earn it. And now it's being robbed. Same thing with Balder. Here he was, the greatest thing since sliced bread at the thing. Everybody's taking a shot. Well, you can't hurt me. He's Biff all over. I can see it. This is like some blonde-headed, yes, I've got this. Yes. You know, and some dickhead, some blind asshole comes over here and takes him out. Just like if you were to use Loki as an analogy for the Pope, he is whispering in the ears of the deaf, the crippled, the weakened, the ostracized, those outcasts of society to take a shot at the sun of their world. And he does so and steals the light from everyone. Do I see what I mean about layers? You can peel it and look at it one way. You can peel it and look at it another way. There's more to this than just a fancy story. Be that as it may, he's gone. Then when Balder was fallen, words failed all. And right now there's a bunch of people that have a bunch of words and they got nowhere to express them. Words are failing them all. What can we say? How do we tackle a faceless giant? How do we contend with the wrath of the ones and zeros that create the digital code? How did we become persecuted for wrong thought? And their hands and their hands likewise to lay hold of him. Each looked at the other, and all were of one mind as to him who had wrought the work, but none might take vengeance. Suck it up. You're going to have to deal with it. All there fucking is. So great a sanctuary was in that place, but when the Aesir tried to speak, then it befell first that weeping broke out, so that none might speak to the others. There's going to be a bunch of people give up. I promise you. There's going to be a bunch of people give up because they never found nothing stronger than the righteous indignation of oppression to fuel what they believed was spiritual development. But Odin bore that misfortune so much more the worst, as he had most the perception of how great harm and loss for the Aesir were in the death of Balder. Balder would have turned the tide of battle at Ragnarok. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Now he's gone. Now when the gods had come to themselves, Frigg spake and asked who there might be among the Aesir who would fain have for his own all her love and favor. Let him ride the road to Hel and seek if he may find Balder, and offer Hel a ransom if she will let Balder come home to Asgard. And he is named Hermodr the Bold, Odin's son, who undertook that embassy. Then Sleipnir was taken, Odin's steed, and led forward, and Hermodr mounted on that horse and galloped off. The hero arrives. The hero shows himself. In these times that seem to be turbulent and challenging, if you look over history, heroes do not arise in times of peace. Heroes do not stand up when everything's going good. Heroes show up when the shit hits the fan. Heroes show up when people are in danger, when there's a flood, a tornado, a forest fire. Heroes show up in times of trouble. What would a hero for today look like? Would it be the manifestation of spiritual ideas across the spectrum of pagan thought? Perhaps. Would it be an idea of freedom being reinforced by the great communicator himself? Who's to say? But perhaps we are in that time when we need to be evaluating these ideas. I assure you one thing, righteous indignation and political ideologies will not garner for anyone a solid footing to make the kind of changes necessary for us to continue on as a country where our radical different beliefs have been allowed to flourish and develop and hopefully contribute something good to the country that allowed their development. The Aesir took the body of Balder and brought it to the sea. Hringhorni is the name of Balder's ship. It was the greatest of all ships, and the gods would have launched it and made Balder's pyre thereon, but the ship stirred not forward. Then word was sent to Jotunheim after that giantess who was called Hyrrokin. That's a hell of a thing to admit, that Balder had a ship so great that they couldn't launch it. They had to call a Jotun. I need to look into that. As a matter of fact, I'm going to write about that too. When she had come riding a wolf and having a viper for a bridle, and then she leaped off the steed, Odin called to 4 berserks to tend the steed, but they were not able to hold it till they felled it. Well, they got tired of screwing with it, so they killed it. Then Hyrrokin went to the prow of the boat and thrust it out at the first push, so that fire burst from the rollers, and all lands trembled, as they should when such a great being changes realms that he wishes to exist in. Thor became angry and clutched his hammer and would straightway have broken her head had not the gods prayed for peace for her. Well, Thor, you should have pushed the boat at yourself. So there's great pomp and circumstance with this. This is Balder going on a new journey. We're content to look at this as a funeral. And yet the more I look at it, the more I'm aware this is not a funeral. This is the beginning of a new journey. This is a beginning where we learn something new. Now we are being forced to look at something else, and perhaps, hopefully, we're being forced to take a good long look at ourselves instead of the feedback we might get from other individuals who may not necessarily be of the best healthy mindset. This is our opportunity to begin to take a look at this spirituality and find out how to truly make it function properly in our lives. Then was the body of Balder borne out on shipboard, and when his wife Nanna, the daughter of Nep, saw that straightway, her heart burst with grief, and she died. And that speaks to me volumes about the quality of love between the two of them. Now, if we're sitting around on social media bitching about shit all day long, it's going to be very hard to cultivate that kind of love. Perhaps we should look at that and look at each other first. She was born to the pyre, and fire was kindled. Then Thor stood by and hallowed the pyre with Mjolnir. This is the hallowing rite. This is why we do the hammer rite. People want to say, well, it's too Catholic. I don't really give a shit. I see it right here in this lore. And before his feet ran a certain dwarf, which was named Leiter. Thor kicked at him with his foot and thrust him into the fire. I would too. Little bastard didn't know how to behave. I'd kick him in the fire as well. People of many races visited this burning. First is to be told of Odin, how Frigg and the Valkyrs went with him and his ravens. Frey drove in his chariot with the boat called Goldmane, or Boar, or Fearful Tusk. Heimdallr rode the horse called Goldtop, and Freya drove her cats. Everybody showing up to say farewell. Thither came also much people of the Rime giants and the hill giants, because this was a god of, let's not forget, in whose home fewest baleful runes resided. This was a positive place. This was a place whose son put to sleep all suits. This is the quality of justice amongst people, something we need to be aware of. Odin laid on the pyre that gold ring, which is called Draupnir, and this quality attended it, that every ninth night there dropped from it 8 gold rings of equal weight. Baldur's horse was led to the balefire with all his trappings. Now this is to be told concerning Hermodr, that he rode 9 nights through dark dales and deep, so that he saw not before he was come to the river Gjöll, and rode onto the Gjöll bridge, which bridge is thatched with glittering gold. It might be the Milky Way for all we know, just like the Egyptians. Maudguder is the maiden who guards the bridge. It's interesting that it's also a woman who guards this bridge, not a man. She asked him his name and race, saying that the day before they had ridden over the bridge 5 companies of dead men, but the bridge thunders no less under thee alone, and thou hast not the color of dead men. Why ridest thou thither on Hellway? He answered, I am appointed to ride to hell to seek out Balder. Hast thou perchance seen Balder on Hellway? She said that Balder had ridden there over Gjöll's bridge, but down in north lieth Hellway. So he's begun a journey. He's crossed a bridge. Death in mythology is always, and I don't care what mythology you look at, death in a mythology is always a sign of some kind of change, some kind of birth, some kind of manifestation of the hero, so to speak. And Hermodr's journey is just part and parcel. I mean, it's picture perfect of the hero's journey. Then Hermodr rode on till he came to Helgate. He dismounted from his steed and made his girth fast, mounted and picked him with his spurs, and the steed leaped so hard over the gate that he came nowise near to it. Then Hermodr rode home to the hall and dismounted from his steed, went into the hall, and saw sitting there in a high seat Balder, his brother. And Hermod tarried there overnight. At morn, Hermod prayed Hel that Balder might ride home with him, and told her how great weeping was among the Aesir. But Hel said that in this wise it should be put to the test whether Balder were so all beloved as he had been said, if all things in the world, quick and dead, weep for him. Then he shall go back to the Aesir, but he shall remain with Hel, if any gainsay it or will not weep. Then Hermod arose, but Balder led him out of the hall. He took the ring Draupnir and sent it to Odin for remembrance. There's so much in those 2 paragraphs. It's going to fill a book. Now we're all disconnected, and we're going to have to go to each other's houses, and we're going to get to see how we live. The very personal connections that have needed to be made for such a long time amongst our folk are now going to become very necessary. They just are. But here's Hermod, who goes on this hero's journey to find his brother, and he enters Hell, and he finds his brother sitting on the high seat. Now, much has been done to vilify Hel, but I wrote a whole book about it. She is the sun-facing goddess. She stands at the entrance to the burial mound. The front half of her is beautiful, facing the sun. The back half of her is dark and mysterious, and earth and worms and things. She is the sun facing goddess. She is that final goddess we deal with as we begin to go to the halls of our ancestors. And here's Balder, who's made this journey, made this transition. He has gone through this symbolic death to be kind of reborn into this realm. Now, it is not the dark, scary, perilous realm that we think of it as. What you have to remember is that every dead being that has gone before is also there. So is everything they know. All of the wisdom of the ages is in that realm. And this boy, from whom all physical harm has been removed, now finds himself much changed and with access to all of the knowledge of his ancestors. What kind of journey might that be? What kind of challenges might there be there? What kind of learning might he gain to become what he's supposed to become, to take Odin's seat? Odin sacrificed himself. He sacrificed an eye to learn what he learned. His son is dealing with Hel herself and all of the ancestors to learn what he needs to learn, because the physical challenges had been removed from him. He will not bear the scars that his father bears. He will not be pierced in the side. He will not lose an eye. He will learn that knowledge on a journey we call life. And that's where we are. Separated from the madness, seeming madness of Washington, separated from the anxiety. See, while we're on social media, we're so much caught up, whether we're there or not. Our bodies don't know that what our mind is thinking isn't really happening. It's feeding our body chemicals like you wouldn't believe, chemicals and hormones and all kinds of other things, stress. And people literally get sick over this nonsense. Now, all of a sudden, we're very much removed from it. Whether we want to be or not is irrelevant. Now we're in another place where we have the opportunity to go on a journey and begin to cultivate wise spiritual development, wise emotional development. Nana is with him. Physical development, mental development, all of this we now have access to, free from the hindrances of the bullshit we've so long been calling the righteous indignation, which makes us important in the world. In case anybody forgets to take a good long look at that, it means we're free of it. And that's what we need to be remembering, because that's fucking important. Now we have a chance to go look at this stuff. Now you have a chance to buy my entire collection of books, which I highly recommend you do. But these gifts he sends back the ring Draupnir. He knows, he understands, this is not me. I'm not building a kingdom here. My father still rules Asgard. He still is the king of the chief, the god of the Aesir and humanity. That ring Draupnir belongs to him, so he might build an army for Valhalla and Vingolf. And it's a sign that he's become a man to earn his own way. That's a real important thing for a man to understand. It's at some point to become a man, it's as simple as making a decision. I'm going to decide to step out here in the world free of the safety net of mom and dad, free of the safety net of just being alive, and try to do something. Whether or not I succeed is irrelevant. I'm going to make a decision to do it. That's the first step of becoming a man. That's the first step at effortless masculinity. Something I highly suggest some of the other masculinity industry individuals begin to understand. And Nana sent Frigg a linen smock. And I've said it many times, I'm going to say it again, and yet more gifts. And to Fulla a golden finger ring. And I love that line because it touches me deeply. Here's a young wife that loves her husband very much, and she sends Frigg a linen smock. Now, when every young hero ventured forth from the home to search out there to find the dragons that reside within himself, he leaves home in a linen smock that his mother made for him. And Nana just sent that back to Frigg to remind Frigg, your son is with a woman that loves him. They have become a pair. And to Fulla, a golden finger ring, her little sister. And what greater fear is there for a young girl who's not really sure of her place in the world yet when her big sister goes away and is married and is all these different things, but this powerful reminder it's going to be okay. Here's a little finger ring to look at. Remember, I mean, if that line chokes me up more than about anything else, quit laughing. But then Hermod rode his way back and came into Asgard and told all these tidings which he had seen and heard. Thereupon the Aesir sent over all the world messengers to pray that Balder be wept out of hell. And all men did this, and quick things, and the earth, and stones, and trees, and all metals. Even as thou must have seen that these things weep when they come out of frost and into the heat. Then when the messengers went home, having well wrought their hair, and they found a certain cave where a giantess sat. She called herself Thok. They prayed her to weep Balder out of hell. She answered, Thok will weep waterless tears for Balder's bale fair. Living or dead, I love not the churl's son. Let hell hold on to that she hath. And men deem that she who was there was Loki Laufeyson, who hath wrought most ill among the Aesir. So we can piss, bitch, moan, whine, complain. We're not getting back on Facebook. When you kiss, that ship's gone. I don't give a shit how many people, petitions and congressmen, that ain't happening again. And it's probably for the better. Because at the end of all things, when Balder's completed his journey, he returns to as the sea falls from the cliffs, and fields unsown bear ripened fruit, and fields of leek green of their own accord, and golden tables where games were played by old gods. The sons sit and they remember, and Balder resides with Hoder in Hrop's battle hall Valhalla, and all ills are forgiven. See, there's something that has to happen here for this spirituality to become that very big promise. Not because, and it doesn't say anywhere, they say it's too heavily Christianized. No, he didn't sacrifice himself for us. We're not engaging in ritual cannibalism. We have been pointed out that there's a journey we have to undertake to grow of our own accord to become what we're supposed to become. Nobody's going to do it for us. Let hell hold on to that she hath. And this is our challenge. And do we rise to the occasion and become what we're supposed to become? Or do we sit here and continue to complain, oh, I've been kicked off Facebook. I said this and I said that. We shouldn't have fucking said it. Stop leading with the chin. Grow into something you're supposed to become, because I promise you, most people care less about the things we say than we care about what the left says. And yet we continue to say it, and it's not doing us any good. We're not handling the business of becoming what we're supposed to become. I'm kind of glad it went down this way, because now we've got to grow into something. This lesson of Balder, he is on a journey in a much different world, much as we are, in a much different world, a much different mindset than the majority of the people we interact with. We will probably, in some cases, be the only example of what Asatru is in most people's lives. We will be the ones. We will be the example. What kind of example do we want to set? Do we want to set one of being a victim, or do we want to set one of being a powerful, positive, empowered individual who's capable of great things, even if it's just doing a simple task at work? Even if it's just doing the most mundane, mind-numbing thing at work. I don't care if you're, what it is. Your best thinking got you there. If you don't like it, change your thoughts and get a new job. But do the best you can at what you have in front of you. These are the things it's time for us to learn as a whole, to produce a body of spiritual literature that we might look through and find guidance. So this is Balder's journey. Perhaps he's guided by a black sun. Who else? I think I'll probably sell it like that. Everett, you're late. And I'm done. Guys, that's all I've got for this evening. But if anybody has any comments or anything they'd like to say, I'd be happy to discuss it with you. And Everett, just as a short synopsis, what I did was I took Balder's journey into hell and kind of pointed out that that's kind of where we are with everybody getting kicked off of social media. We are leaving the madness of much of society behind, and it's time for us to grow into something we need to become instead of using righteous indignation to feed misidentified as spiritual development. So, and that's kind of where we are. Has anybody got any questions? Guess not. I appreciate everybody joining in. And tomorrow is Monday, but it's a holiday. So you can lay in bed and you don't have to grab it by the nose and whip its ass until Tuesday. And we'll do it then.
Holiday.
Yeah, baby. Shay, what do you got, man? Got anything good?
I got to work tomorrow, if that's good enough.
Yeah. I can't even say where I work. I'll get doxxed.
Well, my girlfriend's off work, so I really want to be off work. But every man that I talked to on Friday said, "No, we're working. Why would you want to
call
be
in
off?"
sick?
Yeah. Okay. Everybody knows I don't get sick.
I know, right? Kind of the same thing with me.
What's the real excuse?
Tell
Love sick. Then it's going to be. I'll never hear the end of it.
So.
Okay. Yeah. I guess so. You
only go around once in this world, man. Have at it. Have the best you can at it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right? You go around once. Might as well make it big.
Yeah, it's true.
Hey, Brian, did you get my text earlier?
No, my phone's been dead. I just haven't charged it.
Oh, okay. I had a little a new thing with my son tonight.
No.
He's 16.
Right.
And he was madder than an old wet hen over some stuff. And I was talking to him. And man, he looked at me, he was glaring at me. I said, "Boy, don't look at me like that unless you're ready to throw a punch. And if that's where you're at, you better think long and hard. Because you ain't gonna like the way it works out." And his face softened up a little bit. And he went back in there, and I was like, he's 16, so I still got to keep him in line, but I'm sure glad he's not a pussy.
Yeah, right? Golly, man, both my boys were like reining in wild horses. And it was just, all I could do was kind of steer them. Keep them from killing themselves. Yeah,
he's good. He behaves himself. He's better than I deserve as far as behaving himself. But he had that look in his eye tonight a little bit, and I was like, okay, well,
good. He should have that look. And
I agree with you.
I've told you about my friend Juanita. Her brother-in-law was Pretty Boy Floyd. She was in her late 80s when I met her, and I was 20. And she talked about that. She was talking about her mom whipping her with a switch one time when she was a little girl. She whipped me good, but she didn't whip me so much she broke my spirit. And I don't know, it was just old-fashioned wisdom from this old country woman that, you got to keep them in line, but you can't break their spirit because the world is a fucking tough place.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're right.
Just give them enough pressure to so they can push back against it and build up that strength.
That's exactly right. And that was kind of my point with Balder. That all was removed from him. All that was removed. He didn't have to worry about anything hurting him. He didn't have to do anything, but he still has to go on a journey. So he has to go a different way to learn everything he's supposed to learn.
Yeah. And, well, I mean, look, we can see what happens when people, when kids are raised with no structure and nothing to push back against them, and just with no struggle in life. And, you see what happened. You just look in the news over the last year.
God damn. Scarlett didn't do some homework, and it was the hardest fucking thing for me ever. So she's her, when they're little and you can tell their throat's hot and they want to cry and they're trying not to. She didn't do some homework she needed to do. And she's like, "Daddy, I don't want to go to school." And I made her go to school. And I was like, "Oh God, this sucks. This sucks ass." But she got in there and everything was, she worked it out. Everything was okay. And I picked her up. She was all smiles. She accomplished it. She achieved something. And, so I get it, man. I really get it.
Yeah, it's good.
They do have to have something to push back against. They do have to have something to challenge. I mean, they got to figure out who they are.
Yeah, I agree. So anyway, good stuff. It's Everett's 16, but he's my first boy, so we're still
I get it
along the way.
I get it. Believe me, I get it. Darren and Jeff they were crazier than hell. They still are. Jeff
Well-
will fight at the drop of a hat. Most time he'll drop a hat. And he's only 5'6". He's little, you know.
That's funny.
I seen you his fight though, right? I sent you his MMA fight, right?
No, I haven't seen it.
God damn it. I'm going to have to go through my email. I will do that right now.
Yeah, send it over. I'd love to see it.
Oh yeah, he did good. All right. If there's nothing else, guys, it's a pleasure. I'm glad everybody joined in. I really appreciate that. I do have Jack Donovan has sent me a copy of his book. I will take a look at that and probably we might mention that next week. See what we got coming up with it. Yeah, maybe we'll see. Hell, the world might catch on fire. I'll have something else to talk about. But whatever it is, just grab it by the nose and whip its ass and don't give up.
Will do. Thank you, Brian.
All right, Shay. We'll see you around. Renee, y'all take care. Terry, it's good to see you, bud. Brenda,
Thank you so much, Brian.
I'm glad you joined in tonight, Brenda.
Yep. Thanks, Brian. See you guys. Bye.
Okay.
Good night.